fish and chips would be a preference.
All right. iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Metallica or AC/DC?
Oh, for God's sakes!
It's so funny because I told Tony that we're gonna change this question, but he's like, no, you got to leave it in.
You got to leave it in, yeah.
AC/DC. Stop. Next.
Handshake or fist bump?
Handshake.
Right on.
Weirdest secret talent?
Oh, boy, I don't know. I can whistle in a lot of different ways.
Cool.
All right.
Like 5 or 6 completely different mouth figurations I can produce a whistle from.
I'm glad you didn't say from different orifices, but it was fantastic.
All from the mouth, baby.
Yeah.
What is your worst fear?
Snakes.
Okay. Boxers or briefs?
Well, if I'm wearing jeans, neither. If I'm wearing slacks, I go with boxers.
Really? You'd think that'd be the other way around. Like, jeans are not the most comfortable thing to free ball in, let me tell you.
I couldn't imagine any other way.
Yeah, fair enough.
And the last question is favorite podcast you've been on in the last 12 hours?
This morning, actually, I was on one.
Damn, it totally backfired. Fair enough.
Nice. No. I'm all about the two of you and this whole Canadian weird sort of Florida news update, poutine or fish and chips thing you got going. This whatever you do, whatever this means to you guys, for me, it's a perfectly fine way to pass 47 minutes.
All right, that's amazing. Well, thank you.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
Hold on, I got one question for the two. No, I have a question for the two of you, and I don't want hemming and hawing. Much like my other question, I need a direct answer.
8 inches. No, wait, what?
No. You're gonna wish I was asking that. Here's my question: Kids in the Hall or SCTV?
Kids in the Hall.
Kids in the Hall.
Oh, you know what? That's really
I'm
tough.
going Kids in the Hall.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to go SCTV. I used to love Kids in the Hall, but John Candy, Eugene Levy, no, I'm gonna go SCTV.
Yeah, it's every Canadian's nightmare to be stuck in the middle of those two things.
Yeah, that was a really tough one. Instinct, Kids in the Hall, only because I was like, hey, they're bringing it back. Kids in the Hall is on their way back.
Yep.
Unfortunately, SCTV will never be the same as it was. But, unfortunately, a lot of my life was, of course, revolved around Bob and Doug McKenzie and John Candy and Eugene Levy.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
No, both incredible. I mean, I'm giant, lifelong SCTV fan and a fan of Kids in the Hall for 30 plus years. So I just like to make Canadians uncomfortable, and that's the only way I figured out how to do it.
That is a tough one. A tough one.
Yeah, that was tough. I was trying to go for the jump answer, and no, as soon as you said SCTV, I was like, oh, I was wrong. I failed.
Oh, he could have hit us with like John Candy or Jim Carrey. That would have been a really hard one too.
Oh, yeah, that would be hard. Since you didn't ask that, I'm not going to answer it.
Exactly.
So we do have another question from you, and that is from actor, writer, producer Bill Foster. He says, "At what point in your career did you realize this is it? We made it big."
Well, because we were in such personal turmoil behind the scenes, it was kind of hard to. There was always a sense of this might end at any minute. But that said, I think in 1995, we played the Royal Albert Hall a couple nights, and we were on our third album, and we opened for Robert Plant in 1990 on our first tour, and we'd always stayed friends with him. And we'd had the first 5 years of the 90s were pretty huge for us. We were headlining European festivals in 93, and we had 2 huge albums. Our third album came out, and it was the first time there was like a little stumble commercially. But we were in London, we were playing Royal Albert Hall, and we walked off stage, and we had a great night. And Robert Plant walked into the dressing room, and he goes, "Hello, boys, here's my date for the night." And it was Jimmy Page. And Jimmy then talked about how much he loved the band and he loved the show, and he couldn't believe how much improvisation there was, and he just made him want to play. And sitting in that dressing room, which is not a big room at all, and I was like looking at us, and we were already a big band, like we were, established, and we knew we were good. but I had a real moment of like, that's Robert Plant and Jimmy Page, and they're in our dressing room, and they're telling us how great we are, and I could just, you go ahead and kill me right now, I think.
Yeah, it's
So
pretty amazing.
I'd say that was it. I'd say that was pretty much, that was the one. That was one. There's a few of those, but that was really, really specific.
Wow, that is definitely an amazing way to go. If anything, if you realize that's the moment, that is definitely it. Wonderful. Well, do you have any social media, anything you'd like to pitch for us?
Yeah, Twitter is at SGSFox, SGSFOX. I used to do a show on Fox Sports Radio called Steve Gorman Sports, which is why that Twitter handle is there, but I've just kept it. I now have a classic rock radio show nationwide in the States called Steve Gorman Rocks.
Okay.
And you can find that on Twitter as well. But the main Twitter handle is SGSFOX, and on Instagram, it's Steve_Gorman_.
Excellent. Well, that is wonderful. We really, really appreciate you spending a little bit of time with us. And I can't wait to check your book out. And hopefully some of our listeners will also pick it up. And I think it's going to be a good read for everyone.
Right on. Thank you, fellas.
Excellent. Have yourself a wonderful night.
Take care.
See ya.
Take care. Bye. So this is a good time for us to pitch our social media. You could get us on our website,
thefap.ca.
On Twitter
is thefap4.
You can get us on Instagram,
is the Fap Podcast.
Don't forget our Facebook,
The Freaking Awesome Podcast.
And you can always reach out via email,
thefappodcast@gmail.com.
I'm on the air, we got this podcast.
Not again.
Wicked sweet.